Marfoogle News live in 3. All right, so first of all, we're going to go over some stories, not only some news stories, but some old ones that you need to actually pay attention. So first of all, we're going to go over some stories. There we go. Okay. So first of all, we have to go over this Las Vegas Airbnb. If you do not know that this was, of course, an Airbnb that they found a biolab in the garage. Now, this ended up getting reported by the person that was supposedly the maid or somebody who was taking care of the house. They and the handyman essentially got sick after entering this garage. Now, this garage had all sorts of things that it basically makes it very, very similar to the Reedley, California lab. Now, the things that are connecting this to the Reedley lab are the things that scare the hell out of me. First of all, the same gentleman that was arrested for the Reedley lab, if you remember, this was a couple years ago in California. This is in Las Vegas. That lab, they found thousands of mice. They found vials. They found fridges with all sorts of stuff in it. And of course, they had CV tests in it, and it was all sorts of weird, right? And this was in the period of, we were still dealing with the whole 2019 fiasco, right? So it was pretty scary to find. Now, that same gentleman has ended up calling, and they say that there was over 400 calls or something like this in 2025 alone from the gentleman who was arrested for that previous lab to the person who is either the owner or the runner of this Airbnb. So it is absolutely connected. I mean, if people are trying to say that these aren't connected, that's absolutely crazy. My question is, and it doesn't make it too clear, is if this guy was arrested, was he deported? Where is he calling from? Is he physically involved with this one? And how in the world is he still involved in this stuff? Why isn't he in jail, for gosh sakes? Again, they said multiple people who spent time inside of a Las Vegas Airbnb that hid a possible biological lab alleged links to China fell deathly ill, a former house cleaner told police. A former employee who went by the pseudonym Kelly alleged both she and a handyman who were brought in to help maintain the property got deathly ill after going into the garage, again, where this lab was set up. Approximately 5 days after entering the garage, she was left with breathing issues, fatigue, and could not get out of bed with muscle aches. Now, remember, she just walked into this garage. The handyman suffered the same symptoms and backed up Kelly's claim that the illness came after they entered the garage. Along with the employees, Kelly claimed that the wife of the property manager, Ori Solomon, 55, also got sick after entering the lab area. Now, Solomon, this guy, has actually been in contact with this other gentleman. It says, Kelly said a lot of people have lived inside the house have gotten sick. Remember, this is an Airbnb, so people stay there and then they travel to wherever. These are people traveling to Las Vegas from all over the world. As I said, if you wanted to release something, Las Vegas would definitely be a good place to do it because obviously people come to Las Vegas from everywhere in all four corners of the planet. It says, of course, Kelly also noted when she was cleaning the house that there would be many dead crickets found in the master bedroom, which she allegedly super uncommon as she had lived in Las Vegas for numerous years and had never seen anything like that before. Remember, the crickets are coming from outside, they're coming inside, and they're dying. It says Kelly was the source of the tip that led officers to the raid on the Las Vegas home over the weekend, where investigators said that they found potentially biological or hazardous materials. Officials said that the property belonged to Jia Bel Zhu, 62, a man already under federal custody after allegedly running an authorized biolab in Reedley. Zhu is accused of manufacturing and distributing misbranded medical devices, including tests for the CV, pregnancy, and HIV without proper permits, as well as making false statements to the Food and Drug Administration. Now, I wonder how much of this is a cover. You know, they say that he's making these fake tests or whatever else. What the hell was actually going on here? We're going to talk about it. Before we do, I do want to say thank you, Kimbria. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. It says, good evening, everyone. Hey, I appreciate that. And make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use code MARF to get $50 off per device. This is a device that will protect you against not only EMP blast from any adversary, but it will also protect you against any kind of Carrington level event from the sun. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use that code MARF. All right, now let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine. And yeah, I just want to remind people, if you didn't hear this story before, we did cover it back on February 2nd. So some people are thinking we're just covering it now. This is sort of an update on what's going on. But yeah.
We covered this
crazy.
about an hour after it came out. So yeah. So Biolab found in Las Vegas is similar to the scene that was in California. You want to talk about that and some of the weird things here?
Well, yeah, certainly. Look, like this is, they're now obviously, as we're getting more updates, they're connecting the dots to what was going on in Fresno. So the officials in California criticized the federal response to the biolab found in Fresno County suburb after a similar setup was found in Vegas. The California lab was found in a Reedley home late in 2023, and police said the illegal facility contained a pathogen labeled containers with labels that included dengue fever, HIV, malaria, as well as about 1,000 mice that officials believed were used as test subjects. Zhu, Chinese citizen, was arrested back in October 23 and indicted in November, and he was charged with distributing adulterated and misbranded medical items, including tests and other and he still remains behind bars, but he is set to appear in court in April. But authorities raided the home in Vegas Saturday and found a similar setup. So the fact that this is happening multiple times, and here's the thing, and this is what bothers me. It's not two, okay? Two is what we know. Two is what they've told us. Two is what we found. How many more of these are in America? How many more of these are underway and we don't know about it? And I think that's the biggest concern, as these could be in multiple cities and multiple locations in multiple cities right now, and we just don't know about it yet.
And how is this guy that had connections with the Biolab, how is he in federal custody making calls to Solomon in 2025, over 400 calls, and they didn't bust this thing earlier? It took the maid to actually report this thing for it to be found. You would think that the guy that's making some sketchy-ass lab in California, you would think that they would follow him. You would think that the FBI and everybody that puts us on every goddamn list you can think of, they would have followed him and followed his calls to where he was calling. He was calling this other gentleman from this other lab. Something to me just stinks absolutely of dead mice here. This is horrible. I mean, how in the world is he connected to this second lab? Now, they want to tell you that maybe they're hinting towards that he was just making like bad medical stuff, cheap on the fly knockoff stuff. There's plenty of that can come straight from China. Why are they building it in certain cities here? In California and in Las Vegas, they found them. Like Dex said, how many more of these are there? Now, we have talked about this over the years. Again, these are some of the older stories from just last year, June of last year. They had Chinese nationals charged in smuggling cases. Of course, Illinois researcher. Now, I want to point out there was a great interview on CEO of a Diary of a CEO that went over a gentleman who was ex-clandestine services, and he talked about how it's always in the academic field where you have these Chinese spies. They're coming over, they are in schools, they're in these positions where they're professors and where they're scientists, and these are the people that are actually helping the CCP. Now, you look at this and remember this story. It says multiple Chinese nationals have now been charged by federal authorities with smuggling a potential agroterrorism weapon into the country. An agroterrorism weapon. It says those charges center on a fungus that can blight crops, according to the Department of Justice. Now, gosh, if that doesn't give you like a feeling of like The Last of Us or something, right? Like turning some fungus into some sort of bio weapon, it's terrifying. But as far as that, even an agro-terror thing like that, if they just absolutely decimated our crops, that would be horrendous. It would destroy our country. And then, of course, the USDA chief outlines federal plan to block China and other foreign ownership from U.S. farmland. We've talked about how the Chinese have bought these specific plots. In fact, the map that outlines they are buying property right across the street from all of our bases. We're talking about farmland within proximity, close proximity, in some ways, a rock's throw away from all of our bases. They're buying this farmland and huge properties. We're talking about 40, 50, 60 acres right next to it where nobody knows what the hell's going on these farms. In most cases, independent journalists have seen that they're not even farming. So what the hell are they doing with this property right next to our frickin' bases, right? It says, President Donald's administration will pursue a ban on Chinese ownership of U.S. farmland as part of an effort to strengthen farm security, agricultural security, Brooke Rowland said on July 8th. It says, appearing alongside cabinet officials, Republican governors, and members of Congress, an event outside the U.S. Department. So remember, they're doing all of this. You have these actions and then you have these reactions that have been going on. So obviously something is happening that they're not talking about. Dex, go ahead.
Well, look, you've got on one hand, you've got China attacking America by way of illegal drugs, right? We've lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people to what's been coming across the border that starts in China
per year.
Yeah, it's significant. Okay. That is a direct attack. What's next? Next is you make them sick. Next is you destroy the food. How many people can you take out in the country if you invade or decimate their crops or turn the crops into poison, right? Let loose something, demic-like against the population and do it within our country. What happens then? Does it decimate America so that China can rise to number one?
Well, it's a scary thought. And again, this story needs to, we need to follow this story. People often forget the second that the next day, people forget about these things. This lab needs to be talked about. And everything that just happened in the last couple days, people need to realize this is all part of a track that tracks exactly with what China, we have theorized that they're doing this entire time. It's a very, very scary thing to think about, and people that are scared of it, they turn from fear to anger, and they get angry that we're even talking about it. But first of all, this is news from a prepper standpoint. So if this is too scary for you, don't watch it. Just like a scary movie, if you don't like scary movies, don't watch them. It's getting crazier by the day in 2026. We are in a time where everybody needs to really, really, really pay attention to what's going on around them, especially when there's events like this. Having these secret labs being found, that's pretty scary. But what's even scarier is the fact that the same gentleman who was connected to the other one is somehow connected to this one. And if they say that he somehow owns it, why aren't they looking at this guy's properties? How did they not know? Apparently somehow he did this without knowing. When, if you're $5 under on your return, they'll get you. That's what I don't get about this whole thing. All right, you guys, we will join you over on Marfoogle TV, our sister channel. We've got more on this, and of course, we're going to follow up on everything else that's happening in the last 24 hours over on Marfoogle TV. So make sure to join us. Thank you, Kimbria. Thank you for your support in this show, and we will see you over on Marfoogle TV.